Okay, it's going to be a review of No Mercy 2003. We're, well removed from the 20th anniversary of this show at this point. But, this was the second, SmackDown brand only pay-per-view. And it's really, really weird in terms of trying to, evaluate this show, whether it was a positive or a negative experience. It's tough to say. It was nowhere near as good as Vengeance 2003, where I just thought SmackDown hit a home run. I thought that was an awesome show. This was, definitely noticeably weaker. You could argue that it is, a really stacked show. I mean, look at it. You got Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit, Matt Hardy, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, all in singles matches. But at the same time, I just feel like the card overall, it was just a little bit forgettable. I think you could definitely argue that, No Mercy 2003, like my memories are like this was the least excited I remember, like the excitement level for the pay-per-view party. It just kind of felt like, a middle of the road pay-per-view. I think going back to Brock and Undertaker, I just don't think there was a lot of excitement. I think the stipulation definitely hurt, the excitement level of that particular match. But at the same time, though, it was funny. Like a lot of people thought Angle and Cena were going to have a classic. I mean, it wasn't a classic, but it was still probably the best Angle Cena match. John Cena got a huge babyface reaction, so this is technically John Cena's last pay-per-view match as a heel. So that came off, really, really, really well. But at the same time, like I just remember leading up to this pay-per-view, there's a lot of negativity with the WWE. And, it's almost like people were taking everybody for granted at this time, just the product as a whole. I remember Cena was actually on a, television late night show, and he was just explaining that, when you do shows every single day of the week, you get to run into roadblocks and you get to run into creative, problems. So I just remember at this time, obviously Raw was taking criticism because of Triple H and, what was going on over there. But at the same time, SmackDown got a lot of criticism, with the Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon build up. And when you sprinkle in what was going on with Shane on Raw, this was probably the most heat the McMahon family ever got. So I just remember at the time, this is like the first month I started going on message boards. And like if you were to go back in time and look at the message board, you would have thought the company was just going through a crisis with all the negativity that was going on. But we're going to go all the way back to October 19th, 2003 from Baltimore, Maryland, the First Mariner Arena. They do an attendance of 8,500. And they do a buy rate of 254,000 buys. So, a lot weaker than Vengeance 2003, almost 100,000 less than the first SmackDown pay-per-view. At first, I was like, man, this has got to be the worst buy rate of the year. But I checked out the Armageddon buy rate, and that was actually even lower. So it's funny. It's funny that the Raw pay-per-views actually did really, really well at first, but ultimately it was a Raw pay-per-view doing the lowest buy rate of the year. That ended up being Armageddon. If you want to blame it on the main event or it being a December pay-per-view, we'll get to that when we get to that. But let's get down to No Mercy 2003. I gotta say, man, it's a pretty good card. Like it's not a bad card. It features a great worker in almost every single match. But the problem is you're not necessarily putting the great worker with the perfect dance partner, if that makes any sense. And I just think the main event, I know Russo wasn't there, but it almost has like a, Vince Russo type of feel to it. So you can't blame Russo for it. If you want to blame anybody, blame Vince. I just think they used the stipulation as a way to build to Vince versus Undertaker for Survivor Series. And obviously that was a way to build to, Undertaker resurrecting as the dead man. So you kind of have to look at it like that if you want to, find true value in it. But we're going to get right down to the opener. Good opener right here. Good, but forgettable. I basically just forgot about this match. I forgot about how good it was. This is Tajiri taking on Rey Mysterio. Tajiri is a heel here. He spit some mist in Nydia's face leading up to this thing, and I think that was the end of Nydia. And, Tajiri versus Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight Championship. It was sweet stuff, man. It was really, really good. I think what hurt this thing At times it definitely felt like it was more of a WWE style match, a little bit slow paced, for these two guys. I feel like if you just put these two guys, in an international environment, you could have got something a lot better, but it was still really good, man. I don't want to take anything away from these guys. I think more than anything, the finish definitely hurt it. It was tough to see who it was. It looked like it was Jimmy Wang Yang that just came in to distract the referee after Mysterio hit the West Coast pop, and they were so consumed with getting him out of the ring. Tajiri actually gets the victory and retains the Cruiserweight Championship. So overall, good match right here. I really feel like the rematch they had, I think they had a rematch on New Year's Day in 2004, and Mysterio won the belt there. And then he took on Chavo at No Way Out, which is actually part of a triple main event. So in a lot of ways, this is really the start of making the Cruiserweight Championship, pretty credible. I mean, like that was the highest it ever got on the card at No Way Out '04 when it was part. They actually promoted it as part of I think it was double main event or triple main event actually. But overall, man, good stuff between Mysterio and Tajiri. I mean, it was really, really good. I mean, Mysterio's balance was incredible here. Tajiri did some really, really good kicks. Both these guys kicked the crap out of each other. They worked really hard. And, the highlight would be Tajiri tries to give him like a reverse power bomb, face first. Mysterio actually lands, with his feet on the top of the turnbuckle. Great balance. Then he's able to do the moonsault to Tajiri. That was a great spot. And, even Mysterio hitting the West Coast pop before the interference was good stuff. So, this is good stuff, man. Tajiri, Mysterio, you can't go wrong with that. But for whatever reason, I just forgot that this match happened on the pay-per-view. So, yeah, definitely one of the better, matches of the night. So don't sleep on it. Huge fan of Tajiri. It just felt like at this time, they kept going back and forth with, how they were booking him. He was a heel with Torrie Wilson, and then he turned back babyface. Now, at this point, again, he's a heel. They changed his theme music, but it's cool, man. I mean, if you want to look at it in a positive light, Tajiri is one of the few guys that, Vince, few Japanese talents that Vince really got behind. So there we go. With that, next we got Chris Benoit taking on A-Train. Wow. This is really, really good. I would definitely say this was a great performance from Chris Benoit. I feel like this is what kind of solidified the decision to get the monster push, leading into WrestleMania. I think he actually made Brock Lesnar tap out to the crossface at Survivor Series. But yeah. And you gotta think back to Armageddon, when Edge took on A-Train. The reports were that, Vince was a little bit disappointed that, he couldn't get a better match out of A-Train. And look at this match right here. This is by far, from what I remember. I mean, obviously you have to dig in the crates and go to Japan if you want to see a better match from A-Train. But, Benoit and A-Train had a awesome match right here. I thought it was really, really good, considering, A-Train's limitations. I think the beginning of it, when A-Train, dominated the pace, it was a little bit of a chore to get in through, but God damn it, like the last 5 minutes of this match are just insane. It almost felt like Benoit got pissed off here. So if you haven't seen the match, it looks like A-Train's going for like a gorilla press, and there's a steel chair right there. And for whatever reason, A-Train drops Benoit. He almost goes, top of the head first into the chair. Thank God he landed, face first on the chair. His eye was all busted open. He needed stitches. And after that, I mean, the match just got awesome. I thought there was some really, really cool stuff here with, A-Train countering the crossface. Anytime Benoit locked in the crossface, A-Train would just do, he was so big that he was able to just stand up and do a sidewalk slam to get out of it. And then there was a really, really cool spot. They planted the chair in between the turnbuckles, and then A-Train goes for that bicycle kick. He misses, and then Benoit does the dragon screw, puts him in the sharpshooter to get the submission victory. Great victory. Crossface didn't work, so he uses the sharpshooter. I believe Stu Hart just passed away, and Benoit actually went to the funeral, which I think was the next day, if I'm not mistaken. So if you see a picture of Benoit at Stu Hart's funeral, he's got like a black eye, he's got stitches, and it was because of this match. And after Benoit wins, he's talking trash to A-Train as he's leaving, which is kind of out of character for Benoit. Who knows? Maybe this was part of the storyline. You know, maybe they told him to do it, but it legitimately looked like he was pissed at Adrian for just dropping him on his head. So it was a gorilla press that just went wrong. I mean, seriously, if Benoit landed head first on that chair, I mean, he might have gotten paralyzed. I mean, it looked that bad, but it was face first. You know, I'm sure that bump didn't do Benoit's brain any favors, but it was good stuff, man. You know, A-Train busted out some Germans. I thought Benoit made him look good. You know, seeing Benoit do the trifecta of Germans on a guy that big was pretty impressive. I really feel like this is the match that you know, solidified Benoit to get the monster push. I think anytime you can, you know, carry someone to a really, really good match, almost great in my opinion, that normally does not have this type of quality matches, you earn a lot of stripes. And yeah, I think this is like one of those matches where Vince went up to Benoit and just said, "Hey man, that was a hell of a match. That was just an awesome, terrific match." Because you know other guys weren't able to get that quality out of A-Train, but you know that's why Benoit's in that upper tier. This is why Angle is in that A tier. That's so few many guys around. When you can have great matches with, you know, guys that aren't considered great workers, and so there we go with that. But you know, I know there are people out there. Anytime you bring this match up as, you know, one of Benoit's best matches, they'll be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, but you got to watch it to believe it. I think you know, if you want to argue that the beginning of it was a little boring, then fine. But the last couple of minutes were pretty insane, and it was really it's really something to see, because it seems like when Benoit gets hurt or he gets frustrated, it just elevates the quality of the match to just another level. All right, next up we have Zach Gowen taking on version 1 Matt Hardy. Oh, yes, they did this thing. They actually had a segment with John Heidenreich and Shannon Moore, where Heidenreich actually felt like his best of tape got stolen. And then Matt Hardy's making fun of Shannon Moore, saying that he has a very short best of mixtape. So you saw, you know, the original seeds of the Heidenreich character born before this match. But Matt Hardy has taken on Zach Gowen, the one-legged wrestler. You know, I mean, not much to say about it here. I mean, it's a shame because I thought Matt Hardy looked in great shape here. He looked awesome. This is like the slimmest and most in shape I've ever seen Matt Hardy look. You know, he was, you know, I thought Gowen actually bumped really well for him. I don't know exactly why this match took place. The only thing I could think of is, you know, Matt Hardy was going to go to Raw to join Lita. So this is kind of like, you know, Matt Hardy, you know, doing the honors before he goes out of SmackDown. But to be honest with you, I don't think Zach Gowen lasted much longer. I got to say, though, I thought Zach looked pretty good here. He bumped well for Matt. You know, the execution of the one-legged moonsault to Matt Hardy actually came off pretty good. So Zach Gowen defeats Matt Hardy in about 5 minutes. Yeah, when people see this match, you could be like, what the hell's going on here? But I just think this was just, you know, Matt's way of just, you know, kind of bowing out gracefully on his SmackDown run, which was a mistake. I think Matt Hardy, with Paul Heyman as the booker, especially, like with this SmackDown roster, had huge potential. And yeah, this is, you know, obviously the highlight would be the Cruiserweight push at the beginning of the year. I thought that was really entertaining. I thought that was great. But, you know, I really wish Matt, I think things really would have opened up for Matt Hardy, like after Brock left. Like, you know, I never really thought about it until just now. Like, you know, maybe Matt Hardy, you know, could have been the heel, you know, to get JBL's spot. But who knows? It just seemed like when he went to Raw, like it was really never the same for him. But we're going to move on to the next match. Speaking of JBL, we got APA, Farouk and Bradshaw taking on the Basham brothers of Doug and Danny Basham. Leading up to this thing, Bradshaw actually did the clothesline of hell to Linda Miles, actually Shaniqua. So she was not in the actual match, but she came out at the end here. But I got to say about this, the Basham brothers, All right, so one of these dudes was named Damager in OVW, and apparently, like, he was really, really good. Like, he got a lot of attention. I don't really know if his talent was able to translate to the WWE, but I never really got into the Basham Brothers. I thought they were okay, you know, very generic WWE heel style here. Really nothing flashy, nothing, you know, special. If you want to compare them a little bit to the FTR, you know, maybe that's an acceptable comparison, but I thought the match was okay. You know, they pretty much isolated Farouk, and then Bradshaw actually got the hot tag, and it was good. I thought JBL looked good here. So you get to see the JBL version of the APA. He was slim, he was in shape. It's just one of those instances where, you know, getting a haircut, you know, shaving can really just do you wonders. It's funny, man. A lot of times, like, when you need a haircut, it's funny how people will treat you differently. And then when you do get a haircut, it's like, oh, man, this guy is a great looking guy. I mean, so I think JBL really cleaning his image up, you know, definitely helped. And when you combine it with his real life, you know, stockbroker character, you know, it made all the sense in the world. So this definitely set the tone, you know, for Bradshaw's push right here. But ultimately, Shaniqua gets involved. You know, the referee's distracted, and she's able to come out there with her dominatrix weapon and help the Basham Brothers retain. And there's this really, really bad promo in the back where she talks about how because of the clothesline from hell, she had swelling in her chest, which would explain the enhanced breast implants. But yeah, I didn't think Shaniqua really translated that well on the microphone. Okay, so next up we have the Vince McMahon versus Stephanie McMahon I Quit Loser Gets Fired match. So if Stephanie loses, she would get fired as the general manager of SmackDown. If Vince loses, he would give up his title as chief executive officer of the company. So you could actually lose by getting pinned or submission here. It definitely, at least on Stephanie's part, she was actually going for some pinfalls. There was actually a lot of good near falls with Stephanie actually pinning Vince. So Sable's out there to support Vince. Linda's actually out there to support Stephanie. Yeah, so I guess she recovered well from the Kane pile driver at this point. But yeah, you know, this was a match I wasn't looking forward to revisiting again because I do remember all the negativity. There was an interview with Stephanie that aired on SmackDown. They showed in the video package here with her crying that, you know, she never thought her dad would, you know, abuse her and put his hands on her like that. But apparently, like, that got a lot of, you know, SmackDown's taped, but at the time that got a lot of, you know, negative crowd reaction, a lot of negative publicity. So yeah, like you didn't get to see Stephanie again for a long time after this. Like, I don't think she became like a regular on television, maybe until the Randy Orton stuff from 2009 when they wanted to push Orton, you know, at the Rumble. You know, when he won the Rumble, and then the only way he could win he had to win the Rumble in order to not get fired, and, you know, he kissed Stephanie. So I think Stephanie, you know, she had a couple of babies, and, you know, you didn't see her for a long time. And the funny thing is, like, there were rumors that Stephanie was going to come back, you know, shortly after this, and she even told, you know, reporters that, you know, she was going to be back soon, but I don't think it ever happened. So it was pretty cool. Like, they stuck to the stipulation. So Stephanie actually loses with Linda throwing in the towel after Vince tries to choke her out with the lead pipe. You know, that stuff probably hasn't aged well for everybody. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say about this match. Sable, I thought Sable was awful here. I don't know if they wanted to show hesitancy in the storyline, but there was a slap here to Stephanie that just didn't look very good. It looked half-hearted. It looked half-assed. I don't know if Sable just, you know, got sick of being with the company or hated her role. I know she said she was fed up with everything. I don't know if that had to do with sexual stuff or kissing Vince McMahon. I have no idea. But, you know, Vince has always had a thing for Sable. Both Vinces always had a thing for Sable, McMahon and Russo. So here are the positives. The crowd reaction was incredible. Vince got nuclear heat, asshole chants. It was deafening. It was really good stuff. And whenever Steph, got any sort of offense in, they were pretty behind Stephanie. I like Stephanie. I know I got to think for Steph. I think she's incredibly good looking. I think she's got a good personality. I know there's people out there that hate her and think she's like an awful booker, or she was an awful writer. But if you ask any of those divas to start writing for the company, people are always they would have had a problem with anybody. So in a lot of ways, I think Stephanie's an overachiever. Like, if you look at her three, she didn't wrestle a lot. I know she won the women's championship, and she might have had some matches on Raw in 2000 that I never saw. But if you look at her big three money matches, the match against Trish at No Way Out 2001, this match, and the match against Brie Bella at SummerSlam, they all pretty much delivered. Like, considering the limitations, they all pretty much were better than I think anybody expected. So, give her credit there. The match was actually a lot of fun. I expected to hate this thing, but I got to say, this was actually really, really well booked, really, really well paced. And it was just Vince. This is probably the most heat I think Vince ever got. He did some incredible, microphone work leading up to this thing. The stuff with Brock, the stuff with him, spitting in the face of defiance. There is some really, really good stuff from Vince. My biggest problem with this match is, like, when you see Vince's physique, I don't know, man. He looks bigger than anybody on the roster. He looks in great shape, but the bottom line is, you could definitely tell, he was abusing steroids. And I don't know. I just think that sets a negative tone for the rest of the roster. Like, I just think it puts pressure on everybody else. Like, if the chairman of the board, the guy that doesn't even wrestle, the boss, goes out there looking like, he should be in a Hollywood action movie with all the veins popping out. And I just think it puts pressure on guys like Benoit, Angle, Eddie Guerrero to kind of match the physique and, illegally. And I just don't think it's good for you. And when you look at Vince now, you could just tell by looking at him, like, he looks awful. Like, he what is he, 77, 78? He looks like he's almost 90 now. So I don't know. The whole thing with Vince's physique. I mean, like I said, I just think it's set a negative example. If you want to argue that the blood of Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero lies on Vince McMahon's shoulders, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. So there we go with that. Yeah, the whole program took a lot of negativity, but at the same time, I thought, this actual match right here, I think all the build up and all the promotion actually paid off. Vince got a lot of heat here, and so they did a good job of building Vince up as a good heel, to take on Undertaker at Survivor Series. Okay, next up we got Kurt Angle and John Cena. So this is, just as John Cena's last pay-per-view match as a heel. And, Kurt Angle is still technically a babyface at this time. And I think it ended up being their best match. I still think this is the best Angle-Cena match. Was it a classic? As some people predicted. And it's funny, like, even though Cena wasn't great in 2003 in the ring, like, a lot of people just expected this to be a great match. I think Cena had the ability to have a great match with a great worker. Even in 2003, just a lot of people expected a lot out of it. I mean, do I think Angle and Cena could have topped this? I think if Cena ever got the chance to wrestle Angle, like if the 2007, I think when Cena really started to get better, 2007, even 2014 Cena, like, he was a lot better by that time. Like, if that version of Cena got to wrestle Angle, in his prime, which Angle's prime is what, like, 2001 to 2006, any of those years, they definitely could have put on, at least a 5-star classic. I definitely think that match could have been a ton of fun. But this was still good though, man. It was cool. It got a mixed reaction. There's "Let's Go Angle" chants, "Let's Go Cena" chants. Cena definitely got a babyface reaction at certain points. But the fans never turned on Angle though. I want to make clear that, like, whenever Kurt Angle was a babyface, there's not one time where I remember like a group of fans like chanting "Angle sucks." Like, the fans never turned on Angle. Very similar to Austin. I don't remember, like, you can't pick out a Stone Cold Steve Austin match as a babyface and find, fans chanting "Austin sucks." Like, with Cena and The Rock, it's different. There's multiple occasions where the fans are chanting "Rocky sucks" or "Cena sucks" when they're babyfaces. But yeah, man, this Angle Cena legacy is great in a lot of ways. I think John Cena, you know, I think he owes Kurt Angle, and I'm not going to say he owes him anything, but it was great timing. Because who knows? Who knows if Cena's first opponent was an Angle? Who knows if he would have get sent down to OVW and they would have said, "Oh, we think you need a lot of work. Let's not keep you on the roster." But his first impression was huge. The timing was great because he was able to feed off the Ruthless Aggression promo from Vince, and then he took on Angle. I mean, when you watch the match back now, it's like, I mean, obviously it could have been a little bit longer and it feels a little bit short, but still, like, for an unknown that was able to hang with Kurt Angle, it's like, man, Kurt, you almost got your ass whooped by a rookie. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it just, even though Cena wasn't, great at first, for whatever reason, he just looked like a player there. And, he was able to kind of use it and just stay on the roster, at least until Halloween, where he was able to find, something. And it was that Vanilla Ice, costume and the rapper gimmick, the hip hop gimmick. And then, everything just took off. So, but who knows? Maybe if Cena's first opponent was Bull Buchanan, maybe he would have found himself, back down to OVW or, back down to the gym that he was working at in California. So who knows, man? But it's a great build up here. This is the American Dream versus the American Nightmare. Cena started calling himself an American thug, standing on top of the building. So it definitely made sense. Angle and Cena, they were actually doing some good interaction even before, they started feuding here. And it's funny, like the best Angle Cena promo was actually in June. Leading up to Vengeance, they were actually in Toronto, and that was probably the best Cena, Angle segment where he said that him, Kurt, and Big Show was a menage a trois, and that the real main event was going to be Undertaker and Cena at Vengeance, and then Cena ended it with we in the Great White North, but you could bite my White South, and that was like the first time I remember the SmackDown audience chanting Cena's name after a battle rap, and then they did some other creative stuff here with Angle rapping. They did the stuff with the little midget, Angle actually tapped out to the little Kurt Angle midget and was kind of mocking John Cena. So, Angle actually did some pretty good rapping as well. He's like, "I won't take your crap. You mess with me and I will make you tap." He's actually blacker than me, but he thinks he's white. So yeah, great experience for Cena. It's funny, there's actually a DVD extra where he's actually battle rapping with a fan. It feels like a Planet fan, but it was still a pretty cool segment. Cena ends the battle rap with, "I have you coming out of both sides like lesbian three ways." I thought that was an awesome line, and from Cena. So yeah, Cena was great there. This dude thought he could out rap Cena, and Cena just destroyed him. I have no idea if that was rehearsed or planted, but it came off pretty cool. So if you have the DVD, that's a nice little bonus you could check out if you don't remember it. But yeah, Cena comes out. He's like, "It's time to get dirty at No Mercy. You don't want to mess with me. I'm like a prostitute with herpes." And he has some really unique lines to Angle here. I don't think this was one of Cena's best promos. But he had the line about the midget. He was playing with that little midget that he couldn't keep his hands off. You want to see a real joke? Have Kurt Angle take his pants off. You want to, show your true colors, Kurt? Then dress up like a chick and stop acting like we married. Get the hell off my dick. So it's a pretty good promo from Cena to get the fans into it. So Angle comes out, and it was great stuff. This is the Kurt Angle show. This is Kurt Angle, in his prime. It's funny, man. 2003. This probably would have been Kurt's best year. In Pro Wrestling Illustrated, it's funny, man. Like, no one's going to give Kurt Angle the MVP for 2003 because he missed so much time. But if you look at the Pro Wrestling Illustrated awards in 2003, he won Wrestler of the Year, Most Popular Wrestler of the Year, Match of the Year, Comeback of the Year. What am I leaving out? There's another award that I'm leaving out. And, so, yeah, Angle was great here. This is his last, pay-per-view match before... re-injuring his neck again. But yeah, him and Cena went out with a bang. There was some really, really unique stuff here. There's almost like a David Lynch style of directing. If you see Mulholland Drive, that movie, there's all these different, shots of, cigarettes or coffee mugs that are going to play into the movie. So you get to see a close-up shot of Angle leaving the Olympic gold medal by the turnbuckle, Cena leaving the the War Life chain by the other turnbuckle. So you just know they're going to play a part in the match when it progresses. And yeah, man, it was good stuff. Cena was very aggressive here. Did some very violent, vicious moves to Angle. The buckle bomb to hurt Angle's neck, the DDT on the edge of the ring apron. They really did a good job making Cena look vicious. And I think Vince, like when you watch Vince wrestle, you get to see him, trash talking to Linda, playing up to the crowd, and Cena, his style is very reminiscent of Vince, just in terms of the interaction with the fans and the facial expressions. Cena kicks out of the. Cena actually delivered the FU to Angle. Angle kicks out, and Cena makes his facial expression with his teeth like he's an animal. And I just remember at the pay-per-view party, my dad and everybody, we were just like, started laughing at the Cena, facial expression, because he looked angry, he looked pissed. And then Angle hits the Angle Slam. Cena kicks out of the Angle Slam. Taz is like, you kick out of the Angle Slam, you got my respect. So they had good back and forth here. Kurt really reminded me of Bret Hart in this match, the way he was delivering punches, the way he executed the side Russian leg sweep, the backslide. There was actually a beautiful counter to the FU where he kind of, rolled him up into the ankle lock, very reminiscent of the Bam Bam Bigelow, King of the Ring finish there with Angle transitioning into the ankle lock for the tap out. And I got to remember they did that great spot where, Cena goes for the War Life chain. The referee takes it away, but he already put the Olympic gold medal in his, back pocket. He took it out and he nailed Angle with that. So yeah, Angle kicked out of a lot of crazy stuff here. So, once again, it's funny, like Cena won, Cena didn't win any of these matches. When you look at the Brock match at Backlash, the Undertaker match at Vengeance, and then the Kurt Angle match at No Mercy here, Cena goes 0 for 3. But these were very, important matches for Cena. I think they were, great experiences. Was Cena the best in the ring in 2003? No, he definitely got a lot better. But, he still showed it. You could still carry him to a great match. And, from a character standpoint, from a promo standpoint, they were awesome. I thought he had, some of the best. These were some of the best feuds Cena ever had. And it's funny, man. Cena was such a great heel here that you would have thought, you could always possibly come back to this character, but they never did. They never got a chance to. And I'm kind of mixed on it. In some ways, I'm kind of glad that Cena never turned heel and never had to experience what Austin went through, where Austin regretted turning heel. And in some ways, it was such a great heel turn that it's almost like Austin couldn't, recover from it. So, Cena never had to deal with that in terms of the merchandise, and maybe the Make-A-Wish stuff had something to do with it. But at the same time, man, this Cena as a heel was, you just say to yourself, man, what could it have been? Like when you see how good he was at this time on the microphone, you're like, man, Cena could have been the best heel ever, especially with the championship situation and. A potential like shocking heel turn. It could have been great, but it's never going to happen at this point, which has its positives, has its negatives, and we'll just move on from there. But great match. I would definitely say the best Angle Cena match that they've had so far. The stuff from 2005 was pretty good, but for some reason I think this is still their best work together. The '05 stuff was cool, but it was a little bit frustrating. With Angle actually losing to Cena at that time. I just think a lot of people, couldn't buy into it. But the timing just worked really well here because Cena's still a heel. He's gaining more popularity. Angle's still, solidified babyface at this time, has earned the respect of everybody. And the dynamic just really, really worked here in terms of it being fun and in terms of the crowd reaction. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. They stole the show. I was really excited about this. This is the one match on No Mercy that I was really excited about, and it wasn't a classic, but it was still by far the match of the night. And once again Angle, this is what puts him in that upper tier, just like Benoit. He's able to have a 4-star match, a great match with someone that normally doesn't have, matches at that level. And, this is definitely Cena's best match of 2003, the best match he had up to that time, by far. So yeah, so there we go with that. Next up, we have the Big Show defending the United States Championship against, Eddie Guerrero defending the United States Championship against the Big Show. So Eddie's still the U.S. champion here. He wanted that vengeance, and this is where the reign will come to an end. So leading up to this thing, crazy amount of buildup. Eddie Guerrero actually sprayed sewage, just like Austin sprayed beer and Angle sprayed milk, but this was like shit and sewage right in the Big Show. The arena smelled like shit the whole night. Taz ruined his loafers, coming out of the arena. And then to get revenge, Big Show chokeslammed Eddie Guerrero on the lowrider. So Eddie had like all these scars on his back. So a lot of things working against Eddie Guerrero in this match. And, we're talking about Angle and Benoit, that top tier. And this is like the biggest challenge. Can you have a great match with the Big Show? Very few have been able to have, that great match with Big Show. Maybe Brock and Angle would be the two best workers to actually pull it off and do it. But yeah, Eddie just had a lot against him here. I think his size, this is definitely a total mismatch in size. Eddie Guerrero is told to sell this back injury. I think that definitely hurt it. At the same time, let's not forget, this is around the time when Austin did that storyline with Lance Storm, the boring storyline. So because Austin was constantly doing the boring thing, it trickled down to, SmackDown as well. I was at the house show with Brock and Taker in the steel cage. That got a shitload of boring chants. And then you even heard some boring chants in this match as well. It feels more like a slow, methodical Big Show match than a, lightning fast Eddie Guerrero match. This was just high on storytelling, very, very low on action and athleticism. There's a ton of ref bumps here. Nick Patrick is like groggy throughout the whole match. Eddie Guerrero lied, cheats, and steals. He brings out the title, brings out the weapon. So this is like the first, major opportunity for Eddie Guerrero as a babyface in a singles match to really experiment with that, lie, cheat, and steal character. And it just didn't translate. It just didn't feel like the fans really got behind Eddie that well here. And then Big Show was just, too much for him. Eddie did some, there were some pretty, good near falls here with Eddie doing the crossbody and the frog splash to Big Show after the weapons. But Big Show kicked out of it, and it was just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just dragged. And then Big Show just kind of overpowers Eddie to win the U.S. title. Big Show looked pretty happy after the match was over. Did a pretty good interview with Josh Matthews, and he seemed like he was excited. But Chavo comes out and he's yelling at Eddie and kind of mocking him. So you're seeing dissension between Chavo and Eddie. I think Chavo was really good at being that, the kind of heel that just would just boss you around and just make you frustrated, so yeah, Chavo was really, dislikable around this time. So they definitely planted the seeds for the Guerrero split right there. But yeah, not a great matchup right there. Definitely one of the weaker, I just don't think Eddie and Big Show made for a great combination here. I think if Big Show and Eddie went into the match where they're not having to oversell and, kind of wrestle incongruent to a storyline, maybe you could have gotten something better. But also, I just think the timing of this match, maybe a little bit too high up on the card to really make fans care about it. So there we go with that. And then the main event, we got Brock Lesnar taking on the Undertaker. This is a biker chain match. I would suspect that part of the reason why, Vince was upset with Stephanie would be to, grant the Undertaker this title shot. I think that had a lot to do with it. You say to yourself, why was there such a beef between Vince and Stephanie? Vince just thought Stephanie did a terrible job as SmackDown general manager. At the time, Vince was trying to hype up Brock like he's the real Brock Lesnar, the new and improved Brock Lesnar. And a lot of that was good here. So yeah, you got the video package. The name of the theme song was "Today Is the Day." Pretty good pay-per-view theme. Not one of my favorites, but this biker chain stipulation, I don't know, man. I just, I mean, I've said it time and time again. I would have preferred to do Angle and Brock and the Iron Man match here. But when I watched the show back, I even think that would have been a tough sell at the time. I know some people enjoyed it being on SmackDown. If you want to argue to me that, it was great for people that weren't able to afford pay-per-views to watch something like the Iron Man match for free, maybe maybe in retrospect that was the right way to go. But I don't know. I just think Brock and Taker. I just feel like at this time people were starting to take both guys for granted. Like I just felt like at this time it was tough to get excited. It was tough for these two guys to follow what they did in Hell in a Cell in 2002. Like I just feel like that had such a definitive ending. Maybe you just don't go back to it. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like Taker was really motivated here. It really did. He dropped the weight. They were trying to promote the fact that, Taker's in much better shape now than he was in 2002. And this is a different Brock Lesnar. This is the real Brock Lesnar. So they tried to sell the fact that this is going to be, a better match, a better version of both two guys with the biker chain stipulation. I don't know why they labeled this biker chain other than Undertaker is the American badass. I have no idea why. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I think, more than anything, this is the perfect stipulation to get Vince to come out and just cost Taker the match. Just the way it was executed with, the lights going out every time, Taker would try to grab the chain. It just made the most sense if you're trying to get to Vince and Taker. So I'll give it that. They went long, man. They go about 25 minutes. I thought Taker looked really good here. Very athletic, very fast paced. He even busted out like some lucha libre, type of, pinning predicaments here. Taz even said that's a lucha Mexican, type of pinfall. I would have never expected Undertaker to do something like that. So, yeah, Taker definitely looked good here. I mean, they both definitely busted their ass. Taker actually delivered the, pile driver on the steel steps to Brock, which looked pretty crazy. For Taker to, get Brock up for that without injuring him. Kudos to both guys there on the steel steps. That was pretty nasty. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. The whole lights going out on Taker was kind of annoying, but they did a lot of cool stuff with Brock going to try to get the chain. Taker bringing him down for the last ride. Brock actually jumps over the last ride, counters, tries to do an F5. There's a double clothesline spot. I mean, they worked really hard here, but I think the match definitely, dragged at certain points. There's a spot where the full-blooded Italians come out and try to gang up on Taker. So you have tons of interference there. Taker actually does the WrestleMania dive to take out the FBI over the top rope. So, that was pretty cool. I mean, Taker, eventually Taker would only pull that out at WrestleMania, but he pulled it out here. So yeah, Vince actually comes from underneath the ring and, pushes Taker off the top rope as he's trying to get the biker chain. That enables Brock to actually hit the biker chain to Taker. But yeah, I gotta say, I think at this time, the Brock Taker combination, even at that house show in Madison Square Garden, I just think people starting to take Brock for granted. I think people had this impression that, it's just going to go back to the same boring shit with Triple H and Brock as double champions. Like, we want to see other guys in the main event. I just think at this time, I just think the Brock Taker combination was just a little bit stale. And yeah, the biker chain stipulation, man, this is not a stipulation that I don't know, man. It's not a great stipulation. I just don't think this really resonated with a lot of people in terms of excitement level. I just don't. So there's not a lot to say about it. Is it the worst Brock and Taker match? I would probably say no. I think they probably had. I think the match they had at WrestleMania 30 was probably worse than this. This featured them a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic. So I don't think it's a bad match. I just don't think it was a great follow-up to the 2002 stuff. I think both pay-per-view matches in 2002, I just think the feud, and I know Taker was trying to argue that he wasn't back in shape at that point in 2002. He still hadn't recovered yet from when he took that long layoff in 2000. But in a lot of ways, I just don't think this main event had the juice behind it that the 2002 stuff did. I just think that Heyman really did a great job of building personal animosity. I just thought those matches felt more heated. They felt more important. Brock felt more fresh. I don't know. I just think both guys felt a little bit stale here. I would have loved to have seen Brock take on somebody different here. We got a lot of Brock and Taker, during Brock's initial run and when he came back as well. So, looking back on it, you would have loved to have seen Brock, take on, obviously, Chris Benoit. Maybe you want to think out of the box. Maybe Brock versus Rey Mysterio, just something different. But at the same time, Undertaker was a huge fan of Brock. You could definitely tell he was motivated to work with him again. I just think more than anything, the stipulation is a little bit weird. But hey, man, you got to build to WrestleMania 20. You got to build to, Survivor Series. And, this stipulation kind of gave them a little bit more leeway to be a little bit more creative with the interference. So you definitely understand it. But this is the pay-per-view as a whole. I mean, it's okay. It's pretty good. But it's really not that much better. I know SmackDown gets a lot more love in terms of the wrestling, but I'm not going to say that this show was that much better than Unforgiven. I would definitely say it was, pretty much on the same level. But I'll end it right there. Angle Cena match of the night. Benoit, solidified his push there over A-Train. Those are the two things that really stand out. Big Show and Eddie was probably the most disappointing match of the night. But I'll end it right there, man. That's No Mercy 2003, and I'm out.